Hi everyone. Our Alt-Chi paper is titled Share Your Values, Community-Driven Embedding of Ethics in Research. And we are Nicolas from UCL, Raul Masu from FCT Nova University of Lisbon, Cecile Chevalier from the University of Sussex, and Fabio Morreale from the University of Auckland. In this presentation, we're going to introduce the issues we raise in our paper and, following the thrust of our argument, are going to pose some questions for reflection, offering some time during the video for you to think about your views on these. Ethics is being recognised as ever more important, not just in academia, but across society more widely. The research landscape involves researchers from academic, commercial and government contexts, and involves people, but also their data, derived from many platforms. There are power imbalances and conflicts of interest arising commonly in these situations. In addition, there are limits to the consistency of ethical values and variance in oversight procedures. Pre-research review of ethics can help to manage the conflicts and give protection to participants and their data. The differences in value structures and concerns of different organisations lead to inconsistency in such reviews, and of course there are many people who do not have access to such oversight bodies at all. Unifying ethical values in an international context, crossing both academic and commercial activities, is likely to be an impossible and possibly inappropriate task. There are widely accepted foundational principles in things like the Belmont Report, but to seek a single outcome would be to seek a universal ethical position that in itself would cease to acknowledge the temporally and societally situated nature of ethics and require the resolution of multiple philosophical positions. So, does this mean that nothing can be done to strengthen the position of ethics in research? We don't think so. Our position is that rather than seeking one universal statement on ethics to which all research must subscribe, it is possible to use points of unity within the research community as the anchor for ethics statements. We argue that publishing bodies such as conferences and journals create intersections of activity in research, at which ethics values can be defined and promoted. Universal unity is not required, merely discussion and possibly agreement about what is important for the particular community concerned. That's a process that needs reflection, discussion, consultation and publication of those values and how they might practically work out in the research activities of those who publish at the venue. Keeping that discussion ongoing means that as society's values change, research ethics can react to this. A value-based approach permits a degree of flexibility and is less likely to conflict with institutional or organisational requirements for ethics management. And where it does, the community's engagement and promulgation of its values gives support to researchers when they are seeking derogation from their organisation's norms. What we're arguing for is a more explicit discussion and exposition of the values important to a community. We've done this ourselves as the ethics officers of the New Interfaces for Musical Expression conference series, and, believing that this is a beneficial approach, are now suggesting it for other venues, in this case CHI. The next section of our video therefore poses some questions and creates a little space in which you might want to consider them. We hope that in our presentation or Q&A slot at the conference, we can start to facilitate some discussion of your thoughts and get this conversation going. So, we identified a number of questions to open a discussion around CHI values. We invite you to take a little time to reflect on each question and think about how you would answer it. First, what are the values of the CHI community in terms of research processes, outcomes, methods, and materials? Secondly, do you think that these values are embedded in the operations of the CHI conference and the TOCHI journal? If so, how, and if not, why? Next, how are or should authors and invited speakers' contexts be brought forward and conflicts of interest identified in CHI submissions? To what extent do you feel that CHI respects and promotes multiple conflicting disciplinary value sets, for example, practice or research, arts or science? How would it be best to engage with the HCI community in developing and collectively owning these values? Finally, how might ethics values expressed by the community interact with local ethics processes and bodies, and with situations where such bodies are not available? We hope you found this stimulating and look forward to discussing these things with you at the conference.